Hi, today I wanted to just take a look at what I think the Canucks roster is going to be like on opening night and what I think the Canucks roster should be on opening night. This is not a super scientific thing. I don't have a ton of stats in front of me, but I do have my brain. I do have how I feel about things. I do not think I am smarter than Travis Green or Jim Benning or probably John Weisbrod. I do not want to pretend like I know better than them. I am just a fan, a devoted fan. I've been a Canucks fan my whole life, but just a fan nonetheless. I disagree with the direction the team has gone quite a bit, including some of the decisions they've made around their roster. So let's take a look here at just what I think the roster is going to be like on opening night. The first big question is Miller going to play on wing, or is he going to play at center? And I don't know the answer to that 100%. But I do think that with the addition of Juho Lammikko, they probably will put Miller on the wing at first, and the first line will probably be something like Miller, Pettersson, and then either Connor Garland or Niels Höglander, and then slide Miller over to the right. If I was putting money on it, I would say it would probably be Miller, Pettersson, Garland. And then a second line, Pearson, Horvat, and Höglander. This is just how I think the top six is going to shake out. The real interesting part is what's going to happen on the third line. Because for most of preseason and camp, Jason Dickinson has been stapled next to Phil DiGiuseppe, who obviously was waived and is now heading down to Abbotsford. I don't think they'll put Nick Petan in this role. I think they want this to be like a more defensively oriented third line. If I had to guess, I would think it would be Dowling, Dickinson, and Podkolzin, or maybe Dowling, Dickinson, and Highmore. But I don't think they'll trust Highmore in that role necessarily. If I was to put money on it, I would probably say Dowling, Dickinson, Podkolzin, with leaving a fourth line of Petan, Lammikko, and Highmore, Zach McEwen as the extra skater. Looking at the defense, I think it's pretty obvious. There's no real surprise here. Hughes, Poolman, Ekman Larson, Myers, Rathbone, Shen, with Hunt as the 7th D, Burrows as the 8th D, and then the goalies are what they are. Like, this looks not good. The Canucks, coming out of the offseason, looked like they had this incredible forward depth. They looked like they were on the verge of being like a special offensive team. Obviously, the Besser injury hinders things, but you'd think a team would be able to withstand that. You know, Podkolzin doesn't look as ready as people necessarily thought he might, and that kind of just shot the depth immediately, especially with it being all offensive and no real defense, so to speak of, hence the acquisition of Lammikko. This is how I assume they're going to be lining up on day one. I don't know if this is 100% correct, but this is kind of what I expect. Now, if we're going to talk about what I want to happen, that is an entirely different thing. First off, the top line I think would stay intact here because Besser isn't an option. He's on IR. He might not miss the game. I'm just kind of assuming that he is at this juncture, especially with them not signing Chason. I am not going to look at outside help for this exercise. I'm only using what they already have, and considering that they're not signing Chason, he's not included. You know who is, though? All of these non-roster players technically in Abbotsford, because I think they made some mistakes with the players they chose to send down. So the first thing, keeping the top line intact. Miller, Pettersson, Garland, assuming Besser does not play. Second line, Pearson, Horvat, Höglander. No reason to mess with that. The third one, what I think they should have done is not sent down Phil DiGiuseppe. Not only has he played really well next to Dickinson in the preseason, he had an electric camp. He was amazing. I do not understand the decision to send him down. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. Obviously, the regulars, the lineup regulars, like the Pedersens, the Millers. Pedersen shouldn't even count because he was barely there, but the Millers, the Horvats, all of them, like, they're not really trying as hard in the preseason as the guys like Di Giuseppe who are trying to win spots. But with that considered, he looked like one of the best players at camp. I cannot believe they sent him down. So in my ideal world, he starts the season on the third line next to Dickinson and Podkolzin. Fourth line, I still have Lamico at center. I still have Nick Patan on the left. And on the right, I have Justin Bailey. Justin Bailey, in my mind, earned an NHL roster spot. He earned his spot with the club before getting injured. He played amazingly in those 3 games, and I recognize that it is only 3 games. He looked good at the NHL level. He didn't really have a great one preseason game against Edmonton, but, like, who did? And he was coming off of a positive COVID test. He barely got a chance, and I feel awful for him. I think he deserves a shot. Obviously, he didn't really get the chance to show that in camp. He's incredibly unlucky. I think he should be in the lineup. And as for who stays as the 13th forward, I would say Justin Dowling. I like Zach McEwen. I think he's a really good story. I wish him nothing but the best, but he didn't have a very good camp. He just wasn't good enough. As for Matthew Highmore, he is not an NHL player. He is not NHL caliber, and I would fire him into the sun before I would have him on my 13 forward roster at the NHL level. Like, he just wasn't good enough. Looking at defense, it is much the same. Hughes, Poolman, Ekman, Larson, Myers, Rathbone, and Hunt playing on his offside, though. Hunt looked excellent. Shen looked terrible. I liked Luke Shen a lot while he was in Vancouver previously, a couple of years ago, when Hughes was playing his, like, 5-game stint. But he just looked like he lost whatever steps he had in the preseason. He was frankly outplayed, and the only reason he has a roster spot lined up is because he shoots right. If it was on merit, it would be Hughes, Poolman, Ekman, Larson, Myers, Rathbone, Hunt, and that is how I have it here. Hunt also played the right side a little bit in Minnesota. This isn't out of the realm of possibility for him. I know Green doesn't like to have his players on their offsides, but I would rather try Hunt there than see Luke Shen at this point. Kyle Burrows, I would also have as my 7th D, and I'd call Luke Shen the 8th D. But that is just me. Burrows isn't really proven at the NHL level. Give him a shot, but he wouldn't be my first pick. I would rather have Brad Hunt slide in there, at least on day 1. Goalies are the same. That is my ideal Canucks lineup and my projected Canucks lineup for Game 1 of the regular season. I'm excited to see how things play out. I mostly just made this because I needed an avenue to rant about Phil Di Giuseppe not making the team. Why the fuck is Phil Di Giuseppe in the minors? It makes no sense. But anyway, sorry about that. I'll see you all in the next video, whatever and whenever that may be.